Can this $160 saw beat this $450 or so Echo 590? Japanese, made in USA, Chinese, made in China. I get asked all the time, Oki, what's the best chainsaw for me if I'm a small property owner, cut a little bit of firewood every year, or I recently had a tree blow down and I need to clean it up? And I've come to the conclusion, as a rural property owner and chainsaw enthusiast, that the Echo CS590P is the best all-around chainsaw for the best value for the average person. That would be this saw right here. And while that is a great saw, I also recognize that around $450 or so is still not an inexpensive option for many users. There are smaller saws like this one for around $200, but a little itty bitty saw like that or an MS-170 may not cut it for you. So today we're looking at an affordable option that comes in around $160 and it's a brand new model. Let's take a look. And some people are gonna say a $450 chainsaw is cheap, like this Echo 590, when you compare it to something like this $1,800 Stihl 500i. This 62cc chainsaw is available on Amazon for about 160 bucks. And let me tell you, these guys at ProYama, they're either extremely bold or they're really bad at their job, because I've had 3 ProYama chainsaws that I haven't been really thrilled with, and I've made it clear on my channel. Today, we're gonna unpackage this thing and see if this can break the mold. And the problem isn't the fact that it's made in China. There's plenty of made in China things that work extremely well, and you guys in the comments have let me know that. This saw has some meaningful upgrades, so let's take a look. The plywood wall you see behind me is my new studio, and so I should be able to control lighting and, well, temperature quite a bit better than I am right now, but thankfully I've got this beautiful breeze. Let's take a look at this saw here. Like all equipment that comes off of Amazon, it seems like you have a box within a box within a box, which is a good thing because it protects it from having items fall out. I really don't know what to expect. Don't worry, this video will have a first start and we will cut with it. That's assuming it starts. I said that I didn't like the 3 ProYama chainsaws that I've had in the past. Now, I did have a ProYama string trimmer that I did very much so like. The 3 other saws I had just weren't quite right. If you would have had a storm blowdown and you would have needed to save yourself $1,000 by paying someone else to cut it up for you, those saws would have done it. But it's just not a saw that I would have suggested long term. And they are very cheap. Oh my gosh. I don't know how they do it, but this includes 2 separate chainsaw bars. We got some very obvious branding, X-Tough Light. Oh gosh. I don't think that these are any sort of light bar. That's just branding and a little bit silly. They should just put ProYama on there. Otherwise, it's a really nice looking bar. This is also a 22 and an 18. When we compare the Timberwolf, that's going to be a 20-inch bar. With me, you can always count on me calling it the way I see it. We've got the bag for the chainsaw. This could be a benefit for you. That's not something I would use. These little bottles always come with these clone saws. I've never actually tried them or verified whether or not they're accurate, but I can't imagine them being inaccurate. 2 chains. This is 3/8 58 gauge. It looks like we've got a 72 link and a 64. And if I recall correctly, 72 should be closer to 20 inches, not 22. Got some earmuffs. Probably won't be using these because I have some other great options. A face shield deal that I suppose if you have nothing is better than, you know, listen, this is marketing to the person that has nothing. So if you are gonna go out there and cut with nothing, I would at least use this. Pretty nice to have that screen. We have an operator's manual and a step-by-step. This is how you put the bar on type of guide. It's very nicely illustrated as well. These sorts of saws always come with this tool bag. It's got a file in there, got a tuning screwdriver. That's actually a really nice one. The dog is in there, and probably the hardware for mounting the dog is going to be in here, along with some bar nuts. We'll need those. And I suspect that this chainsaw is essentially just another Zenoa clone, which are very common. That was a saw that was produced and designed, I believe, by the Japanese. The design was later picked up and purchased by the likes of Husqvarna or Electrolux. They are a good, solid design. I've always found them to be a little bit rough. Now, this saw does have an upgrade, and that's why I actually said yes to when they sent it to me. Let's take a look at it. Gloves that probably won't fit the average American, and actually, they might. If I remember right, the Pro-Yama gloves did, but again, this is not something we'll be using today. We have the bar sheath, which I think is actually very important. This is something that if you're not making a habit of using, I really suggest you do. And we have the saw. Oh, that's a darn good looking lubricant. Wait, well, how am I saying lubricant? That says use 40:1 Jasso FD. I have never seen that sort of robust oil language on a Chinese clone saw. Now, this is available on Amazon. If you're not familiar what that means, FD rating is a type of classification for high quality oils that are really good at lubricating and I believe create low carbon type scenarios. So this is specifying 40:1 FD rated oil. Good news, that's what I run in everything with Echo Red Armor. This is also mentioning that it has emissions information on it. And so what that tells me is if this is being honest, this is playing by a different set of rules than I've ever seen before on a clone saw, available on Amazon. Really nice looking. We got our standard outboard clutch, which is not a problem. It just is a little bit different than if you're used to Stihl chainsaws. True to most of the clone saws out there, this is a metal case and probably magnesium. I don't know if they make those out of aluminum. This also does have a screen in it. So my 590 is completely stock, so this is going to actually be something that is a little different than what we're used to seeing. I mentioned that this saw had something a little different than all the rest, and it is viewed right there. This has spring anti-vibe. I don't recall that ever being the case on one of these, and that is the main reason why I said, go ahead and send it, Pro-Yama. Let's take a look at the air cleaner. Dang, that's tight. We'll use the included scrunch to loosen this up. Let's take a look at that air cleaner, make sure it's got one, make sure it's installed correctly. It does. And it's got a nice pleated filter. Holy cow. That is really excessively tight. Don't want that. That's a plastic wing nut. They have used metal wing nuts in the past. A little bit too much. This is for the technical people to take a look. Don't worry, there will be some running footage, again, assuming it runs. This is going to be interesting. I would like to hear from those that are familiar with this type of saw if this looks pretty standard. Not going to be able to peel that off. Our fuel lines. Got our choke. That's nice. You pull that out, it does put it on fast idle. You can hear that click. Got our purge bulb. Our kill switch right here, that is not intermittent, so when you flick this off like that, you have to remember to push this back on. This looks like a really nice quality tool. Some people may be wondering why I'm bothering showing this when the history is not always perfect or spectacular on these Chinese saws, and that's because, well, some people don't have the same budget as everyone else. And while a $450 saw with a 5-year manufacturer warranty, and these are now built in the United States from a Japanese company, I have a video where I went to the factory in Lake Zurich, Illinois. If you're interested in seeing that, make sure you check it out. But this is still $450. And if this is $160 and you have extremely light usage planned, or a need that doesn't need a 5-year warranty, or if you have a battery chainsaw and you have a project that's a little bit more than what your small saw can handle, this may be a good option for you. Something that I see regularly on these Chinese saws is they include these like gaskets that you can put here. In fact, they tell you to put them underneath here. I'm not doing that because no other chainsaw really requires that from any of the OEMs. I think they're just trying to help the bar oil to seal even better against the bar with these. But again, this is not going in, but you might want to put it in there. You cannot put the dog on upside down. It is clearly only one position, which is great. I'm putting a little bit of Loctite on these studs. You probably don't need to, but I don't like it when things loosen up, especially when threaded into metal. May as well. I mentioned that these guys might be bad in realizing they've sent a saw to me in the past, because I did a chainsaw chap cut test with their stuff. Their chaps did stop the chainsaw from going through. Rather than cleaning that up, I promptly traded that saw to the Rusty Garage and Homestead. He used the saws for a little bit, found them also to be flaky, and got rid of them himself. Didn't have to clean out all the safety material out of the saw. I really didn't mean that, Mike, I promise. So that's it for the dog installation. There's really nothing other than just putting on the bar and chain. I won't keep you here for that unless there's something wrong with it. Oh, I do have to show you this though. And that's something that the Echo does not have. And that is a traditional sprocket that you can replace. It's not built into the clutch assembly. That means that you can replace that easily without replacing all the bits. And those are very, very affordable on Amazon and eBay. I get them all the time there. I'm back, and it's not because something's wrong, but rather it's what I'm impressed with. You have a very nice full chisel chain with a very mild safety raker. The Echo has that too. We have our studs here with a nice metal insert on the inside of them. So far, this is all mounting up extremely easily and as it should, very simply. Figured, I might as well show this for someone that has maybe never done this before, and so that's why we're back here. You have to always make sure that everything is aligned, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to be checking that as we go rather than just tightening it up and assuming everything's in line. So you'll see what I've done is I've just made sure that this wants to move freely. It's very easy to have the chain derailed to the inside one way or the other on the rim sprocket. Now we're there. Now what we're going to do is I'm also just going to hand tighten these up, back them off just a hair, because we want to have less slop than if this is just, extremely loose. I'm going to set the tip down here. Very obviously loose. We're tightening this up. Generally speaking, I want it a little looser than that normally, but being that this is a new chain, I'm going to tighten her up there. And you don't have to go gorilla strength on any of these things. Okay. And again, this is a new chain. There's no oil in here yet. This is going to stretch a hair, and there's paint inside the bar rails. Now let's check for operation of the brake. There it is. Easy. Once we fire this up, if that's still too tight, I'll take the time to loosen it up then. But I think, like I said, no, that's actually too tight. That feels better. A little bit tight before. Remember, you don't have to go crazy on these. This has no fuel in it. I just want to see how it feels. Okay, this does have a spring assist, so it's very, very important that you don't drop start this. Do not do that. The spring has a tendency to throw the saw back in the leg. Trust me, don't do it. So start it up like this, or put it on the ground and start it up with your foot through it. Do not drop start a saw with a spring assist. It's a bad idea. It's bad on the spring, and like I said, it can and will throw the chain into the saw. And if it, or not, sorry, it'll throw it into your leg. And if for some reason that thing would have fired up, there could be a big problem. While this Pro Yama chainsaw kit is very complete with like the face shield and all the tools, and it did have, by the way, the Torx L wrench to be able to install those dogs, so you don't have to have a T-handle like I did. It is not completely comprehensive. You do need chaps. So don't think that you're gonna buy this chainsaw and be completely safe with it in terms of equipment. Always watch some videos, do some learning. Don't assume you just go out there and cut. Keep the chain out of the dirt, and please wear chaps. Chaps are important. I like that. Oh my gosh. I like that clear tank. I was gonna say, makes it easy to not overfill. Not sure if it's really effective for the likes of myself though. We do have this metal case on this saw, and I'll tell you, that is a very small hole to hit comparatively. There we go. How did I manage without a clear tank? This does have an adjustable oiler right here. We'll probably turn that, and the carb adjustments are here. The goal is to not have to touch that, but I'll be prepared to do so if need be. Let's see if the oiler is at full right now. This is a little too big, so we'll use the included flathead. This really does have a lot of features that you'd see on a pro saw. Okay, this I believe was already turned all the way up. Yeah, that's turned up all the way. At least mine was out of the box. Now let's see if she'll start up. We're gonna go ahead and purge her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Of course you can read the manual, but I'm pressing that until it's filled. Chain brake on, choke out, saw is on. Now, when you start it this way, it does have a tendency to want to push in the choke. It's already popped. That's a great sign. This is brand new out of the box, everyone. That's high idle. Bring it down. You'll notice how the throttle went back down. So far I'm impressed. Running nice and solid. I'm gonna set this down outside. Let's see what the 590 does. Now one thing with those saws is that the Chinese have a tendency, or at least the brands generally have a tendency to overstate. It says it's 62 cc's, I believe. It's very possible it's closer to like 55, but I can't verify that. That's not in my wheelhouse. This is I believe a 59 cc saw, so it's 60 cc class. This is the Timberwolf. Now this saw, if it doesn't pop over, I've learned that I didn't have the choke on, or I bumped it in. All right. That Pro Yama is quieter than I recall hearing a Pro Yama or a Chinese saw in the past. Now that we've got those saws warmed up, let's go ahead and cut with them. I do want to address on that 590 that what I did wrong there was either I didn't pull the choke out or my knee hit it in, and so I didn't properly start that in the procedure. That's because I was trying to start it, I think, like this rather than on the ground with my foot through it, or just drop starting it like I honestly normally do. Once I choked this thing, it fired off no problem at all. The reason why I kind of hesitated is if you choke it and pull it, and then you continue to choke it and it doesn't pop, you will flood it. So that's just the thing about learning your equipment. I run lots of different saws, and this one is fuel injected, and the starting procedure is completely different. I want to explain what this video is and what this video isn't. This is not a long-term review on this Proyama machine. This saw here, with a 5-year manufacturer warranty, has a reason why it's known as being such a good, robust saw. This is new, but the design really isn't new. The Chinese didn't invent anything. So what we're looking at is, did they execute well on their production of this unit? And so far, the machine is actually very nice. I think it's a little bit more, well, decorated than I've been used to seeing in the past. It does have a metal handle, much like the 620 version of this, which is considered more of a pro feature. And so right now what we're going to do is we're going to see how it performs. These saws have been off for probably 15 minutes, and we're going to find out how they start up. Can this $160 saw beat this $450 or so Echo 590? Japanese, made in USA, Chinese, made in China. Significant difference in price. Let's see how they run. Remember, this saw has no business being started, drop starting it. That oiler probably needs to be turned down. That thing is flinging oil. I'd say much better than this one. I am going to drop start this one. I can already tell you this thing's running rich. We're going to use that screwdriver. First thing, that Echo, I'd say ran better out of the box. So far, I'm very impressed with how even it's running. It seems very happy. That's underwhelming. So I'm going to actually go check something on the chain, but I just want to show you a 590 for comparison. Same wood. There could be some tuning that has to be done on that, but I also think there's some chain, but it's also not running super high RPM. And neither does this saw. This saw is running fat too, by the way. This takes a long time to warm up. I'm going to check the rakers on this. The tooth is nice and sharp. It's not as sharp as if you would have put a fresh file on it, but I'm pretty sure it's got more in it. as far as I think the chain rakers are just too tall. I'm gonna go touch them up. I won't bring you along with that. If you're interested in that, let me know and I can do a video on setting rakers on a saw. I've done others, but I also think I have a favorite way of sharpening. I think I'm ready to call it, but that's gonna be for another video. But what we're gonna do is I will be back. We'll see if those rakers need to be touched up, and I'll run this a little bit more. It's brand new, it does need to break in, but so far it's not running like a 60cc saw, because that 590 right there, those are a good saw, but they're not really a powerhouse. They're not the fastest. They're just a really good, reliable value. And that's what we're asking here is this a really good value capable? And I think this is 22-inch bar. I'm pretty sure it's basically just a 20. We'll be right back. So what I did, if you're unfamiliar with this, is I went and took the rakers, or the depth stop, if you will, and filed them down. I did not just take a single swipe. That would not have worked. They were all over the place. Some were like close, some were pretty far off, and I filed them down with a gauge. That's important. Many people in the comment section will just say, take 2 swipes and you'll be good. What that means is you're taking 2 swipes off of whatever they were to begin with. If they're all over the place to begin with, that leaves them 2 swipes off all over the place to begin with. Use a gauge. We're gonna find out if this will run a little bit better. I'm sorry, cut a little bit better. I think it just wasn't biting. It felt like a dull chain. Other thing is this saw may still need some adjustment, but it also might need to just break in a little. I'm gonna choke it. It's on. I'm gonna take the choke off. Let's pump it up here. Now it's on fast idle, but not choked. Remember guys, it's all about learning your equipment. If you want easy, the easiest experience ever, it's really called battery. But otherwise, 2-stroke has some major advantages. Don't give up on it just because you struggle a little bit. Learn your equipment. I gotta do something. You're gonna have to see this. That's just for comparison's sake. Super cheap electric saw. We're gonna check it in this larger bit of wood. Just initially here, it doesn't feel like a 60cc saw. It feels more like a 50cc saw. So let's look at this from the price point. Well, no, we have to look at it from what they're advertising it as. But you also have to factor in the price. That guy right there is pretty cheap, but don't get too excited when you see 60cc's for, you know, $160 or so. That is a 59cc saw, and that is considered a very, very conservative running saw. They're good, but they're conservative. And this is much less. Now, again, we're not running the same chain. I can't run the same chain. That's 58 gauge. That's 50 gauge, I think. This chain is, you know, it's good. It's got a good hook on it. It looks like all the other import. It's holding an edge. It's sharp. Yeah, it's sharp. Testing it with my fingernail there. We're set properly on my rakers. This is not a safety raker issue. It's not. I think it's a power issue. I can feel it kind of dying in the upper RPM level there. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad saw. What that does mean is I don't think power-wise it's comparable to the 590. Let's real quickly cut a little bit with the Timberwolf. We're going to run in this bigger wood, and then I'll cut some with the smaller, or I'm assuming smaller, with the Pro Yama saw. Feels like a total ripper in comparison. Does that $160 saw, approximately, compete with this $450 saw? I would say in no stretch of the imagination. Out of the box, the experience is nothing like this. I think that these brands would do themselves a favor. I'm just suspecting, and I would love to see if someone knows how. This is just not my forte. I get the concept, but if someone measured the stroke of this, the bore of this, and measured how many cc's this is, I would really like someone to weigh in, like what's typical. If the Chinese are stating on one of these brands that are, you know, not top tier, not considered OEM, they have a valiant effort here, but I think the fact that it says 62 on it, and I think in the description may say 62, this runs more like a 50cc saw. And really a 50cc saw that isn't extremely good running. It kind of feels like a 4910 stock. It feels like a 4910 stock from Echo. I think that the vibration is better than I've ever noticed on any of these Zenoa clone saws. I think for 160 bucks, if all you've got is like a little saw like that, or a very small DeWalt or something like that, this will get you through some stuff. But this is not, I don't think, considered big wood right here. It's a 20-inch bar. It's perfect on that 590, you can do much larger wood. But the little Pro Yama struggled, and it's because it didn't have the low end grunt. And that's what leads me to believe that it feels more like a 50. I will say that this has the best running kit characteristics of any of these super affordable saws that I've ever had in my hands. That's a win. I think it's cool that it comes with 2 bars. It's extremely affordable. It could cut up something like this, no problem. If that's all you got is one and you got a bid for $1,000, or if you have time and patience, or if you're not comparing it to an excellent 590 Timberwolf. Now keep in mind, this is one of the slower saws I own, but I purchased it because it's good, reliable, durable, throw it on the tractor, don't care what happens to it kind of saw. That's what these are known for. But a $450 saw that you don't really care about is not everyone's position. And so that's where something like this may fit in. I just wouldn't factor this saw, I wouldn't consider this saw a saw that you're going to have for 10 years. You could very well, because parts, you have to do some searching. You're not going to go to a dealership and say, hey, tell me the part number and go order it. But you can find parts for these on eBay and Amazon, but you have to kind of mix and match. You got to figure it out. You know, pull starts, they used to be somewhere around like $7 or $10, I think, in the past. You might get a blue one. These, as they make them more complex, like all the shapes and stuff, it may be a little bit more difficult to find replacements, honestly. But I think that this is a chainsaw that will cut. It's not something to get excited about, but if what you've got is $160, if you've got $160, it might very well be worth it. So I guess to sum it up, does that compete with the 590? I would say no. It has a similar bar length. I'm not so sure that it should have a similar bar length because it was struggling pretty hard. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. I probably shouldn't have been standing on this side of the pile should it decide to roll down on me. Novice mistake.